Welcome to the podcast again. Is it a podcast or is it just a chat? I don't know. We originally had these ideas that we would do a podcast, but it was actually an ambitious thing to do, like scripted storytelling. So we started talking once a week over FaceTime. And then eventually I said something like, well, our podcast is this weekly chat. This is what this is actually what we're doing. And then it's like, can we figure out actually how to record it instead of just having the chat? And then that's where we are now. As 5 weeks ago, we've been doing this. This is the fifth one. And I had I had enough to say as of last night, and then more things kept happening. This is kind of funny. It popped up in the hardcore video gaming community that one of the things Elon has been bragging about publicly is being a super awesome video gamer too.
Didn't know that.
He picked one particular game called Path of Exile 2 and said, yeah, I'm like a 97th percentile player on there. And the gaming community that's like really into it went, oh, really? And then he has it's like Trump lying about golf, like he cheats all the time and then says he's a top golfer.
Right.
But, Elon's picking a hardcore super nerd audience that really knows what they're talking about and are really into it. And he started a live stream where he's like, watch me play with my awesome character. And they're all like going, he's never played this before. He must have paid some minion to get this character up to this level because he has not even the basic idea of what he's doing. He's winning this fight with this monster, but he's not even doing it right. It's like he's got a character so juiced up, he's going to win anyway, but he's not using the right spells. He doesn't know how to manage his inventory. You can just see right through him as a total fraud. And so there are all these videos bouncing around the gaming community world where they're like, this man is a total fraud. And leaving comments like, imagine if he's lying about this, what else is he lying about? Yes! Everything! Here's another quote. His PR team was the only thing that managed to make him look cool all those years ago. The version of Elon we see now is what he always was. Yes, gamers. Yes. They can see right through it because it happens to be their area of expertise. But that's everything.
He is that weird nerd that everybody made fun of all the time.
Yes.
Because he was a fucking weirdo who had no social skills. And probably the only reason anybody tolerates him is that he has money.
Right.
That's it.
But it's not really cash money. It's stock value money. And if his stock traders, his value will if I were a stockholder in any of his 5 stupid companies, I'd be like, he seemed to be spending a lot of time in Florida and Washington. Why isn't he running this company right now? Why isn't he talking to us about the projections for next quarter, not being up to scratch and stuff? And he has 5 jobs he could be doing.
I was a stockholder of Tesla, and it rose very nicely, about 800% when I was holding it. And then he started doing it. It was right after the Twitter nonsense. And he was starting to act incredibly
erratically, yes.
And I said, I don't want an erratic person at the head of a company like Tesla,
right?
That is emerging. It's not really quite, that the whole electric car thing is emerging. It's the next big thing, but it could get screwed up really easily by an erratic person at the helm,
right?
And his board there are basically, the board in a corporation is supposed to hold the executives to account.
Right.
But in reality, they're all the minions of the CEO / president.
In this case, yeah.
Almost always.
Hey, give me more money. Okay, we vote for more money.
The family members. Exactly. The reason they're on the board is that Elon blessed them and put them on the board. And so they're not holding him to account. And I said, you know what? I got to get out of this because he's going to screw this.
He's going to lose my money.
So I took my profit. I got out of there. It immediately cratered to about half its value. I think it might have come back up because because I left at least 2 years ago, and they had a good sales year the year before this year. This year this is the first year Tesla's had sales that were 1.4% lower than the year before.
Right.
They had growth for many, many years, even if they weren't making a lot of money, but they were having sales growth, and that's important. And this is the first one where sales are not doing well. And his vaunted Cybertruck didn't meet its own specifications. It didn't meet its price range. It doesn't work.
It rusts.
Now, a lot of that he claims are just software upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been like 1 million to try to get that.
I see a lot of Rivians on the road now. For example.
No, the Rivians, every Rivian owner I've run into, and there's several on my street, they love it.
Yeah.
But it's not a cheap vehicle. I think the least expensive version is like $70,000.
Yeah.
And he promised that he was going to bring in a 49.9 version of Cybertruck.
Impossible.
And I thought, oh, that's going to be great. I mean, that will undercut. Well, the cheapest one, I put $100 down, refundable deposit. They said, hey, we're ready for you to outfit your Cybertruck and complete the order. And I looked, and the cheapest, most stripped down thing I could get was $79,900.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you are $30,000 over what you promised for your stripped down version. And because I canceled it, I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And they went, can you tell us why? And I said, you overpromised, you underdelivered, it's too expensive, and your company is run by a madman who's erratic. Yeah. I mean, all politics aside, even if he was a radical liberal or more towards my side of the aisle, he's erratic. There's something wrong with this guy. There's something seriously wrong. And anybody who abuses ketamine, like he is rumored to,
yes,
I don't trust them.
Right.
I'm not going to trust them.
You can't count on a stable hand at the helm if he's ketamining all the time. Yeah. His boring company, there was a blurb in the Austin Chronicle, about he wanted to start doing some kind of tunneling thing here in Austin with his boring company, and they said no. And I'm like, well, thank God. But they, as a party chat said, he apparently has these machines tunneling under Las Vegas without the right permits, without the right safety considerations. And something's going to crash over. I'm glad I don't live in Las Vegas, but that's very scary that he just thinks I'm going to do it. This is how he's done everything. I'm just going to go ahead and do it anyway, and maybe there'll be a cost, maybe not. Maybe I'll pay a fee, maybe I won't. But he's really playing with people's lives here, and there was but
he doesn't care. They're not his.
No.
They're not his life.
And I don't think he sees other people as actual real. They're like the fake characters in a video game he's playing. They're just little things that move around in his field of vision.
What do you call them?
Non-player characters, NPCs.
Non-player characters, NPCs. That's right.
That's right. He was.
What was the movie based on a non-player character who becomes sentient? It was either Paul Rudd or.
But there was a Ryan Reynolds movie that was kind of like that.
Ryan Reynolds. That's what it was.
I can't remember what it was called.
Free Guy.
Yeah. I actually saw it, but I've forgotten it all about it already. Elon was just he was being briefed by the firefighters in LA. I'm like, what does he have to do with it? But of course, he's also he was trying to ask them the questions straight from the conspiracy wing of Twitter. And they were like, no, sir, that's not what's happening. What's happening is real fact here and real fact this. And I'm like, the stupid, scummy comments that Trump has been blasting out. One thing, I was in, the big, the Northridge 94 quake in LA. And a city that was very normally fractious. There's too many people crammed in together, and they're all at different strata of life. And no one really, everyone hates each other. But man, the night of that earthquake at 3 a.m, everyone was my neighbor. Everyone was being kind, from homeless to highborn. We were all like having a moment. It just naturally happened because we had all been traumatized by the same thing. And then Trump wades in there, and it's like, does he not realize he won the election? He's still like in election mode where he has to think of some reason to dump on the. But he did that when the hurricane, was it Helene? And they started trying to politicize. I'm like, well, we are in the middle of an election campaign, so I sort of contextualize it like that. But like, we're not anymore. But he's still.
Well, he's still talking about that too. He's still saying that FEMA doesn't have any of the money. They spend it on immigrants.
It's not just scoring political points. You're preventing people that need help from going out and seeking it, and it's there waiting for them. But he's convincing them not even to go look for it because he said it's all dried up, and then it's not. It's there. You can get the help you need right now. So it's very dangerous. But the actual people involved don't mean anything to him. But it's just so frustrating to watch all this and he hasn't even started yet. It's still going to get.
I know. Remember the other thing, Rob, he did is like, FEMA's only going to give you $250. Right. What can you do with $250?
No. It's an immediate $250,
or whatever it was. It might have been $450, something like that. It was a nominal sum, but that was immediate
emergency
cash assistance, so that you could go and buy food or whatever
water
you needed.
Or whatever.
While the crisis is still going on.
Yeah,
it wasn't all you were going to get.
No, you then apply for the house to.
Right, but that's what they were shooting out to people because their goal is just, it's sort of like this play. I'm going to plug my play now that I'm going to be reading next week on the 21st. It's based on the same kind of charlatan. His name was J.R. Brinkley. He was sort of patent medicine. He was a guy who created, his big claim to fame was the goat gland surgery, where he would take the testes of a goat and stick it in the testes of a impotent human male, and that was supposed to make the human male virile.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he was very good on the radio. He bought a radio station, or he created a radio station, something like that. It was in Milford, Kansas, and he broadcast 24 hours. He was one of the first people to do that. He was the first person to broadcast country radio, country music. Country music was considered low music, so in New York and the other Pittsburgh, and they played big bands and stuff like that. They didn't play country music. He was the first one to do it. People loved it. The lonesome cowboy, a cowboy who claimed that he went blind by chopping wood. I'm not sure what that meant. How do you go blind chopping wood? The splinters go in your eyeballs or something? I don't know. Anyway, all these people were on his radio station, and he became huge. He made $750 for this worthless procedure, right? In 1923 dollars, and I looked it up. That's equivalent of $13,600.
Right.
Nobody had $13,600, but people, they went into hock to do this, and some of them died in hock because of this, and so he would never explain to other doctors how he was doing this. And then later, many years later, he admitted during a libel. He brought a libel suit against the AMA that was trying to shut him down, which was emerging at the time. It was nobody ever heard of the American Medical Association in 1923, but it became a big deal. And one of its big targets was this guy, J.R. Brinkley.
Is the play about just the undoing of him at the end? What is it called?
It's called Man of the People.
Okay. And
the reason why it's so topical now is that even when people would come down with proof that this guy was a charlatan, the people who loved him could not believe that because they were listening to him not 24/7, but many
Oh,
hours
those radio
a day
fans just could not
on their
believe.
radio. And they loved him. He was because he spoke like them. He wasn't like a regular radio announcer of the time. He wasn't, hey, I'm a radio announcer. He was just, I'm J.R. Brinkley, and I'm talking to you from Milford, Kansas. And he sounded like that.
He sounded like one
And
of
everybody thought
the people.
He was one of them. And it's like, it has parallels to, and the other thing, here's the other thing that will sound familiar. He put his name on everything. Brinkley this, Brinkley that, Brinkley. And he bought 3 yachts. When everybody else couldn't afford food, he's buying yachts.
All named Brinkley.
And he put Brinkley on everything. John R. Brinkley or J.R. Brinkley or Dr. Brinkley. And he put it on hubcaps on his car. He put it on the yachts. He put it on the sign of his home, the Brinkley Mansion. He gave money to a Methodist church in Milford, Kansas, and he asked them to rename it the Brinkley Methodist Church. And they gently said, "No, we can't. No, we can't do that."
Well, God bless them for that. Draw the line somewhere.
I took up too much time with that, but I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, well, you're into it right now. So you're doing a play reading on the 21st, differentstages.org. If anyone's in Austin on the 21st, they're going to be...
Yeah, it'll be at Trinity Playhouse, which is at 9th and Trinity. It's in a Baptist church up on the 4th floor. They built a little theater in there, and it'll be from 7:30 to 9:30. It's free.
Okay. I will try to be there.
You might find it fun.
I might find it fun. Well, I'm interested in the topic. Oh, this reminds me, because we had one viewer who wanted to know why we're friends. Where do we know each other from? And you've always been an actor, although we've talked about this before, like, can we remember when we met? And it's like, not quite, but it might have been on Steve Mims' The Perfect Specimen. But you weren't an actor in that. You were like helping, you were like the AD or something?
I was the casting director.
Oh, you're the casting director. Okay. Weren't you on set too a little bit?
Oh yeah, almost every day.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I talked to you and Dennis almost every day.
Because I was on the sound crew, so I had a lot of time to just sit down and be available to talk to people. I don't work until they say roll the cameras, and I roll the tape. Otherwise, it's a lot of free time. So we must have had some nice chats there and realized we had a compatible sense of humor and stuff.
Because basically, I was casting director, and I was also basically a second assistant director.
Right.
I was the cast wrangler when they were on set.
Right.
So I did what a second AD does.
And you had gone to film school, like a different one. Where did you go to? Didn't you have like actual film?
I didn't actually go to film school. I went to Steve's film classes.
The director of the movie we're talking about had little film
Steve
classes.
Mims.
Yeah, Steve Mims.
His claim to fame is he was he taught Robert Rodriguez the only film class Robert Rodriguez took.
Ever really had. And he was good to go.
At UT. And after that, he might have made Bedhead for that class. 10-minute, really clever movie. And then right after that, he made El Mariachi.
Yeah.
For like $7,000.
Yeah, that's what we hear, yeah. My movie was cheaper than that, right? And I didn't sell my blood to do it. Well, plasma. He sold his plasma to do it. Yeah, so we've just known each other since that, because we were still both working in indie films, and then I made one and I cast you in my movie, so that kept the thing alive. And then, I don't know, we just keep running into each other. Austin's not that big a town, and we still enjoy talking to each other.
And we genuinely like each other.
We genuinely like each other. And
so we do stuff together.
We do stuff. The most recent thing we did, Tom wrote a little Shakespeare Hamlet sketch, and we actually went to the trouble of costumes and filming it and editing it together and putting. We haven't really released it so much. It's on YouTube somewhere, but maybe I haven't marked private.
Oh, is it?
So I should put it out now. I could do it on this channel and just put it out. Yeah, so we always have ambitions to do some other kind of filmmaking or something, or audio podcasting. Still, we haven't quite realized that ambition either. Still seems like a good one because you still know a bunch of actors because you're actively doing it and stuff.
Well, we should definitely record. We should definitely record Slow Invasion. That is very funny,
Yeah,
and that's one of Rob's audio plays, basically, and it's approximately 15 minutes long.
I think it's shorter than that, but
Okay,
it's just short and sweet. And it was my reaction to the pandemic at the time. Translating COVID into zombies and saying
yeah.
this crept up on us fast. So sort of the thing. You can see it coming. It's kind of like watching. Yeah, there's news reports of something happening in a weird place in China. It's like, okay, near the end of 2019, and and
Right.
I remember actually going, that's and putting it out of my head. There was advanced where I'm hearing another thing, and then all of a sudden it overwhelmed the entire world. I was about to volunteer to help at South by Southwest that year. I'm
Right.
actually going to get out of my shell, get out of my house, and do something. And COVID said, "No South by Southwest, no nothing."
Because by March 15th, everything got shut down.
Yeah, it was like one of the things. Like there were meetings, we think we're still doing it. We think we're still doing it. Like there's no way we're doing this international festival with everyone coming here. No, and I was also trying to do stuff with co-op radio. Finally, it's like it's been there for 30 years. I've never done it, and so I started in January taking the training and starting to volunteer and do stuff, and then it squashed it too.
And that had to shut down too.
That had to
Yeah.
shut down too. And I was planning. I renewed my passport because I thought maybe I'll go somewhere. That didn't happen either. I guess I could now. It's 5 years later. How is it 5 years later?
Yep.
I don't know. Um. Okay. I just want to since we're talking about movies, I saw both. Last Monday, I saw the Bob Dylan movie, No Direction Home. I really liked it. In fact, I found it
Oh,
kind of
good.
moving. I know the music very well. I'm not a hardcore Dylan fan, but a pretty good one. And I owned all his first 5 albums on CD, and I listened to them a lot. And they're doing exactly those songs and showing that world. And I saw a couple of critics pan it like, "Oh, the meticulous art direction of recreating Greenwich Village," and I was like, "But that's amazing! That's one of the cool things about movies. Is you can do that, throw the resources into rebuilding a lost time and place." Although I did notice, what are you going to do about it? One inauthentic thing, they're walking outside, and the sidewalk has that little Americans with Disabilities Act curved slope on the end. I'm like, those didn't exist back then.
We didn't have curb cuts like that.
Well, what are you gonna do? And then geez, it seems like Chalamet is actually doing some of the singing here. And then it turns out, no, he did all of the singing. So not only is
Wow.
that little bastard talented enough to be an actor, but he learned. I'm pretty sure they had him playing the guitar live on the set, but then went back with a much better guitar player, but the music sounds fantastic. And then it turns out all the actors were singing. Ed Norton is singing as Pete Seeger. He's a terrific Pete Seeger. But more impressive is the woman playing Joan Baez. It's not easy to imitate how Joan Baez sings with that amazing
No, because she has a
soprano range
vocal
she
in her
has.
voice.
That is not.
She's
So I was like, I am horrifically impressed by this recreation of this part of the world and the time, and finding the dramatic arc in it of Bob arriving is kind of, yeah, he hadn't written himself yet. So this is him
right.
getting all, and then ending with the Newport going electric thing, where he's like, okay,
Okay.
I found myself, and it's not what all of you guys want, even though you helped me get here. Um, and I know you can you have to make a story out of it somehow. So yes, you take liberties with the actual, but as far as I can tell, the director has been talking to Bob Dylan about this, getting his opinion. Bob Dylan is well aware this movie is being made, and he just said, "Yeah, change the name of my girlfriend to a different name, so that it could sort of be a fictional character and not she's a private person, she's a real person. Don't use a real name." Like, we can do that. We're still gonna have the character. So yeah, but it's a character now. It doesn't have to be her.
Is it that cute little blonde that showed up on the first two albums?
Yes, the one hugging him on the
Okay.
freewheeling Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And she was an artist,
Yeah.
and she still is. There was a YouTube of the real lady. I guess she wrote a memoir, so she went around and was probably interviewed by Terry Gross on Fresh Air at some point.
Oh yeah.
But she's a private person, unlike Joan Baez, who was already a famous person when Bob Dylan met her.
Right.
She was already on her way. And it's so crazy. He was 20 when he started like writing all these songs that are still famous. It's like, okay, I thought I was kind of talented when I was 20, but I was not. I was not doing that. There's a
But
real
he
thing
went,
here.
made a pilgrimage to Mermaid. What was it, Mermaid Avenue in Brooklyn to meet a dying Woody Guthrie?
That's in the movie.
And oh, did they have that in there?
Oh yeah, the
Because
scenes with Woody are great because Woody can't speak, so you have this terrific
right.
actor. Just you can see that he desperately wants to communicate, but he can't do much. But they handle it really well, and it's very moving. And I also saw that was a week ago. I might see that again just because it was fun, just aesthetically fun. I saw. Oh boy! Oh, Nickel Boys.
Oh yeah.
Which I've been seeing trailers. I'm like, this is starting to intrigue me. This might be something really interesting that I should make a point of seeing. And then I saw that sort of variety directors roundtable, directors talking to other directors, and a young man. Let me pull up his name so I don't.
Butcher it.
Yeah, butcher it. Ramel Ross. He's very. Look like he's in his early 30s, kind of thing. And I didn't know until I watched that thing, and this gave me the last bit of like, okay, I'm definitely seeing this. He wanted to do it sort of in a first-person perspective, looking out. The camera is looking out through the eyes of the character, which is always kind of a gimmick. So you're like really, you're really going for it when you you make this move. There was that old, I think it's this like a Sam Spade detective thing where Robert Montgomery is
Yeah, it
the
was
camera.
Marlowe. It was a
Marlowe,
movie.
Philip Marlowe. Okay.
It was a Philip Marlowe's film noir, and it was all from Marlowe's perspective.
Yeah. In writing interactive fiction games, we called it second person perspective, not first person. It's all described as you are standing in a field, you see a mailbox. Right. That's second person. It's you, and you project yourself into it. So I don't know, but so I'm like, okay, he's going to do this. I want to see how he does it, and he has to set up the rules of this within a few minutes so the audience gets adjusted. And he says, okay, yes, but I'm not going to do like huge long takes. I have to be able to cut and edit. So what he will do is make, sort of jump cuts in time forward. It can be an hour, it can be a few minutes, it can be a year later, because he actually starts with the main camera character being a little kid, and then he's almost about to go to college when he gets he hitchhikes with the wrong dude in the South, and a cop pulls him over, and he has to go to this. It's basically a little slave camp prison that's disguised as being a reformatory school for juveniles, and then the camera. He suddenly decides, I want two characters to have this ability to be the camera. So he picks a scene where they're talking to each other and shows us the entire scene from one side, and then goes nope and backs up a little bit in time and does the whole scene the other way, so we get the idea. And then from then on, we can be either one of these characters going forward. I'm like, this is really, and he's doing it with this. You have to be kind of young and daring and risk. This is a big risky swing.
Yeah.
And also the confidence and chutzpah is to basically, before taking this risky swing, saying, hey, watch this. This is a young man's creative, and you're not going to do this as an older filmmaker. You're going to do this now when you're young and hot, and you're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do the whole movie like this. And there's going to be a reason why I did a whole movie like this. And it's like when someone takes to complete the baseball metaphor, when the bat connects with the ball and it makes that really satisfying sound where you knew he got a piece of it. and so it's darn good. And he's almost saying,
Really?
like,
So he succeeded in his,
I think so.
in his risky
I
endeavor.
did get confused a few times, and they were kind of in critical parts. So I'm like, yeah, it's not quite a homer. It's like a triple. But you really got a piece of it. And, you could do the same material because the material is very strong. In sort of a pedestrian movie of the week, television movie kind of way. And it would work. But you have this director saying, I think it's strong enough it can support a daring way to tell it. And it'll be even better and it'll be more powerful because you will literally be in the shoes that this is happening to. And I think he justifies his artistic attempt at it. And it's very bold, and it's nice to see someone like, yeah, I'm new on the scene and watch me. Like, okay, we're now watching you. So that was kind of cool.
All right.
And
Nickel Boys, huh?
Nickel Boys, yes. Because otherwise I might have missed it. It's just because I am going to the movies quite regularly that I see trailers for things like this. But I wasn't 100% there until I heard about what the gimmick was. And then I had to stop watching it because I'm like, no, well, now you're going to start spoiling the story, and I don't want to know what happens.
I think it won a Golden Globe, didn't it?
It must have won something.
Because I looked through a list and I saw that name. I didn't know much about it.
Right. And, it was a novel by Colson Whitehead that came out not too long ago.
Okay.
So it was known in literary circles before it was made into this movie.
Okay.
And so I don't know what kind of
either
storytelling the book does, whether he got the idea from the book. The book is very, if it's that way. I don't know. I haven't read it.
Okay.
And there was another one of those Tarantino podcasts, and I almost skipped it because he was talking about something I had never heard of, but then I'm like, well, maybe I'll learn something. And it was, have you ever heard of the Andersonville Trial? It's a Civil War story. That,
Yeah.
prisoner of war camp that was just a death house, a notorious.
In Georgia, northern Georgia,
And
where a shitload of people died.
so a playwright turned the transcript of the trial of the camp director into a play called the Andersonville Trial, and apparently Tarantino says this is the play that George C. Scott was in that made him George C. Scott, and his volcanic energy on stage was perfect for this material, and he became a star like that. And so George C. Scott is directing this as a television movie, and he's not in it, he's just directing it. But he's really directing, they have like 3 cameras, and he's making sure where all those things are. And again, the material is so compelling, you start getting really fixed on it. And funnily enough, it's as the role he had on stage, George C. Scott hired William Shatner to be the guy. And you can sort of smile, but it's like Shatner was an upcoming talent of note in the theater world. That's where he came from. And he has a theatricality about him that makes him seem a little large for the small screen sometimes. Although it is precisely that energy that made Captain Kirk work in these absurd situations. Right. His absolute commitment to what we're doing with his starship. And he has this way of getting his diaphragm to like really push out certain things for emphasis. And as the trial starts getting more and more to a moral point, where the lawyer is like, I have to win this not because they're just going to hand this to me. I have to win it on the right moral grounds. Otherwise, this means nothing, and I'm a sham. And and so it really, and I'm like, well, let me see if it's on YouTube, and it was. So I got to watch this thing after hearing him talk about it. And it's a really nice. It's a really good play. It's called the Andersonville Trial, and yeah, the full television movie on videotape is on YouTube. I don't know why. Someone put it there.
Was it in one of the 90-minute TV formats? Like
it's actually more like 2 hours long, Actually broken
Oh,
up into
so it was
three
one of the bigger
acts.
ones.
It's a bigger one, and it was from 1970 or 71, something like that.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't
It's
during the heyday
It
of the
wasn't during the
50s and
heyday. It was
60s
like almost a new
Playhouse.
experiment in trying to revive it almost. Because
Gotcha.
I don't remember seeing a lot of live plays when I was growing up in the 70s. Like maybe they weren't drawing the audience, but this turns out to be like a really and the
Play,
Shatnerness of the
Playhouse
Shatner is
90 was
fun.
big. That's pretty cool.
And other than that, I'm running out of things to talk about. Oh, all this hocus pocus about taking over Greenland. What do you suppose
Oh,
Putin thinks about Greenland as a thing? It must be in his
well, they
thoughts
love it
somewhere.
because if he's going snatching territory, see,
Oh, it
it's just a
normalizes
great
snatching territories.
it's just a great game, right? We snatch territory, you snatch territory, and
And
we fight, we duke it out as great powers.
correct me if I'm wrong.
It's
Denmark is a member of NATO, right?
it is.
So we'd be doing a hostile act on another NATO member. That does
Correct.
well. Of course, he doesn't. He wants to throw out NATO now. So yeah. Oh, it's also weird. Now there's stories like anything involving Don Jr. is a clown show. But like literally, like yeah, we hired homeless people to put MAGA hats on for the pictures that we took, and it reminded me like, hey guys, remember when he came down that escalator in 2015 and there were people cheering? He paid for them to be there and cheer. He didn't have. Now he has genuine MAGA fans, but at the time he was
He
paying
didn't then.
people to pretend to be fans of his. Don't forget that,
Yep.
people. He paid them in that famous escalator moment.
He is the modern J.R. Brinkley, man. He is the modern J.R.
He
Brinkley.
is the modern
No
terror.
matter how you go after him, he there are some people who believe he's a good person and is the savior of this country, and you cannot disabuse them of that fact.
Yeah, might be even divinely inspired. Who knows?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Oh,
And J.R. Brinkley said that he was being persecuted like
oh
Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he
no.
oh yes, he referred to himself as
That's
being
quite a
persecuted like
comparison to
Jesus
make.
Christ.
Man,
Well, he had no shame.
I guess
And
not.
and when you don't believe in anything really,
Then
um,
everything's up for
and you
grabs.
yeah, you just shift around uh, because there's only one thing that matters, and that's your success or your winning, whatever that is. And so, if you don't believe anything, that's all the better.
Right. Okay. Another cheerful note to end on. But the world is crazy and scary right now, and the venting this once a week helps cope.
Yeah, I think so. And Bannon. It was so funny because Bannon just said Elon Musk is a seriously evil
I
person
saw that.
with the what do you say, with the mentality of a child.
I mean, I honestly can't make head or tail of what's going on when
And so
Bannon
Elon
is
said,
doing
"So
it different.
you're an evil person.
You
You have the
no,
mentality of a
you
child."
are. You have the mentality of a He should not. This toddler should not have the power he wields. He just
No,
shouldn't.
no.
Yeah, he's that nerdy kid that's weird, and
Some third grade teacher's going to have to step forward and say, Elon,
Elon.
put that down. Put that
Put that-
down. You're going to get yourself and other people hurt.
Oh man! All right. Well, have a good Zoom rehearsal, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Good
Bye
night.
bye.
Bye bye.